the last decade, the Roman Catholic Church has not had such controversy to hit its pews like Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code. I know you probably thought about that other thing that rhymed with crocodile, but that's a totally different subject altogether. For nearly 500 years, the portrait The Last Supper, for the most part, generally was looked upon with admiration and high esteem, and Da Vinci was seen as a genius. But Dan Brown's book and movie brought a new attention and scrutiny to both Da Vinci and Dan Brown. Dan Brown hypothesis theorizes that Jesus was in a romantic relationship with Mary Magdalene. Is there any truth to this question or point of view, or is it simply speculation, or does it border on blasphemy? This is what I will be addressing in this podcast. There are 11 questions that came to mind due to Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code in The Last Supper itself. Leonardo was born April 15, 1452 in Vinci, Italy. He was conceived out of an affair between his mother, a peasant woman, and his father, Piero, who was a known notary. His father and multiple stepmothers would later raise him. Some say he was a bastard, and because of this, he was excluded and shunned from enrolling in church-backed art schools, where he was forced to learn in an unconventional and lonely way. At 14, he became artist Verrocchio's apprentice, and for 6 years he studied sculpting, drawing, carpentry, metalworking, and leather arts. He was infatuated with the male nude body and loved the young men's company, as was Florence culture. Homosexuality was the norm, but it was illegal. If caught, the penalty would be death, and by 22, he would be charged with sodomy, and after the help of a rich friend, he was later acquitted. Disappearing from the scene for 2 years, he quickly moved to Milan after receiving a beating for the conviction. He was suspicious, and after this trusted no one, and this would be the reason for his shadowy personality until his death. Many attempt to romanticize Da Vinci's early life, but there is no record of his early childhood having friends or any siblings. I think the truth is less glorified than we would think. He was troubled, lonely, and angry. Which brings me to my first question. Should this painting be considered as proof of Jesus' relationship with Mary Magdalene? No, because biblically, no woman was at that meal. No woman was mentioned even at the meal. It was just Christ and his disciples. Number 2, is there any proof that Jesus was married? No, but in Revelation chapter 19, verses 7 through 8, it speaks of his coming marriage to the church, the true bride of Christ. Number 3, should we assume from this portrait Jesus' true ethnicity? No. This painting was done in the late 15th century, almost 1500 years after Christ's death. The non-European world was clear that Jesus wasn't European, seeing as though the very enemy of the Jews during the time of Christ was the Roman Empire, who occupied Jerusalem during the time of the real historic Jesus. Number 4, why are most religious paintings European in origin? After the European grew in power through the exploits of invasion and war, the Europeans created their own ancient history, starting with Egyptology, combining with some Middle Eastern ideologies, creating Greek mythology, presenting a new Europe repackaged, establishing the white man's burden and manifest destiny, attempting to add their own face to history by force of the sword and pen. Number 5, does these European images affect the world's view on Christianity? Yes, and negatively I might add. More than 90% of the world are people of color. With all of our ancestry lines go all the way back to Africa, Lucy being one of the oldest skeletal remains to date. Biblically, Jesus went to Africa to hide from Herod. If he were European, how would he be able to hide so well? And there are no documented facts that Jesus ever stepped foot in any European country. It is a very clear sign of white supremacy in the Western religion. This is a very destructive and subtle brainwashing method used in art and religion, encouraging people to believe in what they see. The book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 15, speaks of Jesus' feet being like bronze. Number 6, is science a religion? Well, the basics of the word is Latin and means to know. We know that science uses experiments by observation and hypothesis to form a conclusion. If science can't prove it, then it is not considered to be a source for foundational truth. Something I found very interesting is that the word occult means hidden. So scientists can be considered members of the occult naturally because they dedicate their lives religiously, researching terrestrial and extraterrestrial ideals, and from their conclusion enforce their research as law in the educational system, thus creating followers that systematically are programmed to accept another man's claims as fact. Look, it sounds like a religion to me, especially from the Western perspective. Was Da Vinci a scientist? Yes, amongst many things. He developed in all the areas of arts, creatively and conceptually. He crossed all the worlds of knowledge from alchemy, astronomy, biology, chemistry, and many other fields of study. During these times, the majority of these fields of study were considered evil and dark. Number 8, was Da Vinci a Christian? No, he was a man of reason. To be a Christian, one has to live a life of faith and trust in God through his son, Jesus. As a scientist, he would not have been able to prove by the confines of science the existence of God. But it's clear that all natural elements are subatomic and have many different manifestations, some flammable, some odorous, some solids, gases, and some liquids. These different elemental compounds are fundamental proof of the existence of life based on what we can see and based on what our senses cannot see. Why did Da Vinci paint The Last Supper? It was commissioned by Duke Ludovico Sforza in Milan. It was painted in 1495 and took 3 years to complete. It is located in the dining hall of the Convent of San Maria delle Grazie in Italy. Number 10. Who benefits the most from this new ideal of Christ? Demons and devils. Those that are opposed to the biblical works of Christ. Since Christianity is focused on spiritual issues, then the enemy of the spirit will benefit the most. And in Christianity, that enemy is known as the serpent, the dragon, Satan, and the devil. Last question, number 11. Who are the Gnostics? Who and when were the Gnostic Gospels written? The word Gnostic comes from the Greek word gnosis, that means knowledge. Do we see a link here between scientists, Gnostics, and the occult? The Gnostics were seekers or researchers of knowledge and of information. Without any reservation or prejudice, the Gnostics wanted more information. And they combined their entire gathering, thus creating the Gnostic religion, which is a mix between gnosis and dualism. The Gnostic Gospels were written over 125 years after the resurrection of Jesus, when all the eyewitnesses were dead. So the Gnostic Gospels were written by people that never witnessed anything. Thus, their credibility is non-existent, therefore a moot point. So in my conclusion, the Last Supper painting has no historical basis whatsoever, culturally or biblically. It's clear that Da Vinci was a gifted painter that has contributed vastly to the worlds of science and technology. He will forever be a subject of study and debate. Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code is blasphemous in my opinion. The movie was suspenseful and entertaining, but its storyline will prove to serve a darker agenda in the near future. I am Tafari Walston, and this is my extra credit assignment for art history class. Thank you.